listen, I said I would stop doing that intro and then just have my little music intro with my name, but I actually enjoy saying hey, hello, hi, so hey, hello, hi. Today I wanted to just talk about my experience with therapy, because I've done a couple types of therapy. Basically, I'll go through like every kind of thing I've done to help me, but like via professionals. So not just therapy, but you know what I mean. So, let me start from when I first understood what anxiety was. I would say I was around 13. Yeah, so I was 12, 13. I was right, 12, 13. So I think, so basically, I started to understand what anxiety was at that age for several reasons. I was bullied for about 6 years up until I was about 15. And that was like the whole like cause of most of my anxiety. It wasn't just bullying at the schools I was at. So the bullying started in primary school, and then I went to a different school. I got so badly bullied there that I moved schools, and then I got bullied at that school too. But I also got bullied online. This is going to sound so bad, I started a fan account when I was 11, hence my kind of presence right now on like Instagram and stuff. So because of all that bullying, the anxiety began around then, but also when I was about 12, I guess, 12, 13, one of those ages. Someone who I'd met and they meant the world to me took their own life. So it was not an easy year for me. 2015 was not it when I was 13. So yeah, but that was like when I started to understand what anxiety was, because of how bad everything was getting for me, that I became anxious, and yeah, so then that's the beginning of my mental health trip. So when I was about, I'd say after almost near the age of 14, I'd definitely say 13, I kind of tried to hop onto getting help pretty quickly because it was such a scary feeling having that severity of anxiety. I think I'd always had like anxiety as a kid, like I was always very loud and always very wanting the spotlight and confident to an extreme. So when the bullying started, it kind of tore me down entirely, and I felt like a completely different person. And when I look back at how I was as a kid, I almost don't feel like that was me, because I just remember kind of like 12 onwards and like who that made me become, kind of thing. But I hopped on to trying to get help pretty quickly. I ended up in a secondary school that we were the first ever year, and that meant that the mental health help was worse than any other school. So most schools have a counsellor or, you know, a team or something to help kids with their mental health. Not that they're any good, because they're most definitely usually not, but this one didn't have any in the first year, and so in the second year they got, second or third year they got a counsellor who comes into the story a bit later as well, and I started to see her once a week, and it really helped me. And I think it only helped me because it was her, There were, I'd say, 2 other people that did counselling within that year. I tried to form like a team and it didn't work. One of them I completely did not like, and the other one was nice, but she was just, I don't know, she lacked something as a professional. And so this main one that I saw, loved her. She was like my best friend at that point in time. I didn't really like anyone else. And when I just remember, like, when I was in class, I would do this thing where I always took a beanie with me to class, and I would put it over my face to let my teachers know, like, I am not feeling good today. And they would be like, do you have an appointment today? And so I would go to the appointment, or they would let me go and like breathe outside, because it just became general anxiety. It wasn't really from the bullying. Like I said, like a lot of it was online, and it was kind of like spaced out bullying. It wasn't like continuously being picked on. It was just continuously being left alone, and then like some really harsh moments of bullying. Yeah, so I started to see this in-school counsellor. At this point, not diagnosed, really. So clearly you can tell I have changed. What? It's a different day, basically. And to this day, I'm not diagnosed by a doctor. I've been diagnosed by several therapists. Because doctors, when it comes to mental health, in the UK, and I'm sure everywhere else, to be honest, are absolutely awful. I tried to get diagnosed when I was younger, but back then I had severe social anxiety, so when they asked me what was wrong with me, I didn't really want to say anything, and then and plus the doctor I saw was an absolute arsehole. Why did I take so long to say that? Just like so rude. Like if a kid comes to you about, I need to get diagnosed with like mental health issues, like I might need some therapy and I'm like 13. Why are you gonna be a bitch? Like just why? Like I just want to say that getting diagnosed by therapists is as valid as getting diagnosed by doctors. So anyways, let's go back to my origin story. This is how I became a villain. I had this therapist, let's call her a name. Let's call her Ella. I don't know why, that was like the first name that came to my brain. Also, I have a friend called Ella. Hi Ella. Me and Ella, this is my in-school therapist at the fine fresh age of like 13. So me and Ella became best friends. But she genuinely did help me. But the issue with in-school therapy is that it isn't really on your terms. Like when you see them, how many times you see them, it's all on the school's terms, and that is not helpful because the school obviously wants you to be in lesson as much as possible. So it helped when I had it, but I wanted to have it more because I needed it more. And I saw Ella up until the end of my high school experience. Why am I suddenly American? My secondary school experience in year 11. So that was for about 4 years. If you don't know the English school system, you have secondary school, which is a mix of middle school and high school for the UK. You have sixth form or college, which is the end of high school, and then you have university, which is Americans' college, but you also call it university. So I moved to sixth form. Sixth form is only 2 years. It's the last 2 years of high school, basically. So I moved schools for sixth form because the school I went to for secondary school literally deserves an awful Yelp review. Like, trashiest fucking school ever. Absolutely awful. Never going back. Ever. But my Ella was an angel and wrote me a reference letter to give to my next school, because at this point I still was like, I don't really want to like tell people my issues, but like, can you write me a note so I can have like an in-school therapist there? And I gave it in, and they were like, okay, like, you can see this one person. I saw this woman once in the first out of 2 years there. Her vibes were just off. I was not fucking with it. Then the second year happened. Looking back, I don't even know what was mentally wrong with me when I was 16. I was just not in a good relationship, which was a long-term relationship, so it was long-term affecting my brain. So I saw her a little bit more in the second year, and she was helpful, but like still at times the vibes were off, but it was helpful when I could do it. But the thing with sixth form for me was I didn't need it as much because I actually really loved my sixth form experience. I think having been bullied so much in 3 separate schools that wasn't that school, having this like new experience where I wasn't bullied whatsoever was just like a breath of fresh air, and I didn't need as much help as I used to at that point in time. I just had so much free time, and I had this is where I found my people. Like, years later, even after leaving, these people that I met there are still my people. I saw them all yesterday. We, big gathering for my birthday, I found my people. I loved my teachers, most of them, and I loved what I was learning. It was just ideal. And I had so much freedom, short days, could leave, blah, 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 very independent, and that's what I loved about it. So yeah, I didn't need it as much. Then COVID happened. Boy, I think that fucked us all over, to be honest. And then I just got into a really messy situation that I'm still kind of in a year later in regards to a relationship. The whole of 2020 and 2019 I kind of planned not going to uni and leaving to go to LA, and then doing an internship with my family there, and then probably staying longer, and I had the tickets and everything. I paid for it myself. I was just ready to leave. That was going to be my life in my head. And then COVID happened. I was forced to stay here. I was forced to go to uni. Hated uni. My health was just deteriorating because I was later diagnosed with endometriosis on top of my already diagnosed at 14 years old, which also is definitely a massive reason behind my deteriorating mental health. And just so many shitty little things happened. I just felt so held back in terms of life was just not letting me exceed and have the life that I wanted. It just felt so against me, and so I was just yet again in another shitty education environment, surrounded by partially shitty people. I've made a few mates and they're lovely, but it's just not the same. After such a good experience at sixth form, it can't be compared. I pretty much just hate it, but just so many things happen that I'm just not happy with, and my mental health just so quickly. And then in March I had a breakdown, and I just completely lost it, to be honest with you, in March. So from March I started to see an actual therapist, and not an in-school therapist or counsellor, an actual therapist. But I did it privately because CAMS, if you don't know what CAMS is the NHS linked therapy, and it's literally months if not years waiting list, and it's awful. Every single person that's ever gone has just said don't do it. So I literally was just I'm not gonna go to CAMS. I already tried to do that via the doctors and they were just awful with me. So let's just do it privately. It will cost more, but who gives a fuck? We have the money right now. So I started going once a week, and it was good, but I think it overwhelmed me a little bit too much. So I started to go once every 2 weeks, and now I'm much happier with my experience doing it privately. And the issue about therapy is if you're no longer in school or your school doesn't have good resources and people, it can be so hard to pay for private counselling and therapy in general. So I know it's not accessible to everyone, but I guess this video is just to say, like, if you're considering it because you can do it, then do it. But anyways, my experience at the moment with my therapist is really good. It's weird though, because I feel like a lot of therapists in movies and stuff like that give like tasks to do. I feel like that's a very big thing in like America, like they tell you what to do, which I think I would enjoy. My school therapist, Ella, would do that, and it did help me, but I think like therapy here is a lot more of talking it out, which is what I need because I'm a big mouth anyways, and I don't like to open up to most people, even though I'm very openly emotional and will tell people shit on my Twitter timeline. I won't say it privately. So it has helped, and I think in the future I want to do it, I don't know if properly is the right word. I think I'd like to see a therapist that would be more active in getting me out of my bad habits rather than being a therapist that is there to listen. But for now, this is what I need. But Ella comes into the story again because in March, my mum contacted her about my breakdown, and we got back in touch. Now I have her number because I'm obviously no longer a student, and she calls me every now and then to check up on me, which is a very rare case, you know, a rare situation. So yeah, I think like my experiences with therapists is overall very positive, but it definitely has to, you have to find someone that fits you, because like I said, I've had my experiences like with some that I just don't fuck with, and that's perfectly valid and normal. But I would recommend it because it does help, and I think that's what I want. I kind of want a drumstick, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what this video is. I think maybe it's just, I vowed to myself that I'd be very open and speak like about my experiences and mental health in general, so I feel like that's just that. It's not a very good video idea, but I think therapy is worth it, and I think if it's accessible to you, to definitely try it. And the thing is as well is like more recently, now more than ever, I've just heard of so many people who like, they're like, I've never really had mental health issues, but I started therapy and I just didn't realise like I needed it so much. And it's so true. I think everyone needs therapy, even if your life has predominantly been happy or boring. I think everyone needs therapy. I think parents need to have therapy before they have children, and whilst they have children, and you know, all the shebang. I think everyone just needs therapy. So because we're humans and we all go through shit and we just don't realise our trauma sometimes. So that's my, oh my god, this is already hard to eat. So tasty though. I promise I have more exciting content coming soon than whatever the hell this is. But for now, I was a little bit busy this week, so this is all you're getting, guys. Also, my birthday is on the 27th of July. Make sure you follow me on other social medias, which are down below, to say happy birthday to me, because I'm a Leo and I'm an attention-seeking whore. What can I say? Anyways, I love you guys. I hope to see you in my next video, which is out this Sunday, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.